If you've heard snow is on the way for the new year and you're after a few more details, you have come to the right place. Hello, welcome to this week's Deep Dive. I'm Annie Shuttleworth, meteorologist and presenter here at Met Office HQ. We do these deep dives every week, every Tuesday, and they're an opportunity to take a closer look at the details for the weather for the week ahead and anything that's going on that's really interesting. And what's really interesting at the moment is the change to cold weather that we're expecting to end 2025 and begin the new year. We are expecting a major change to our weather with Arctic air moving across us. So we'll be taking a look at the snow risk, where we're expecting snow to fall, how cold we're expecting it to get, and how long the cold weather is set to last. Now, we do have a few warnings in force for the cold weather, for snow and ice, so we are expecting some disruption from this weather, and I'll be sharing more details on the snow in just a moment. But first of all, let's have a look at what is changing to bring this cold Arctic air. Now, you will have noticed over the Christmas period it's been quite settled, albeit pretty grey outside, but we've had finally a spell of settled and dry weather after the fairly relentless rain that December brought. And that's thanks to an area of high pressure, a really large area of high pressure. It's been situated up to the north and west of the UK, and it's been bringing in a northerly wind for many areas. But much of the UK has been centred underneath that high pressure with sinking air that subsides any risk of precipitation. So that's why it's been so dry. We've been in a fairly blocked pattern as well, so there's been very little change. And the pattern is set to remain fairly blocked, but we will see it change just a little bit, and that subtle shift will allow a change to our weather. Let's have a look at how that plays out. So the high pressure is set to sink further southwards, allowing cold air to topple in down from the north. And actually, this area of low pressure up to the north of the UK, driven by a portion of the jet stream, will develop through New Year's Eve. And once that does sink down to the eastern side of the UK, will be pushed into an Arctic air mass with this direct northerly wind coming down from the north, the Arctic. That's going to be driving this really cold weather. So you are definitely going to be noticing a change to cold weather. Let's see how that looks on the air mass feature there. You can see those deep blues coming in. That's the wind direction here, the northerlies coming in, and we're going to be staying with this Arctic air all the way through the new year, the first week of the new year. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the weekend is looking particularly cold, and it will likely last at least until Tuesday or Wednesday next week. We'll have a closer look at the longer range forecast towards the end of this. But let's have a look at how this can play out and how this brings us a risk of snow. So to see snow, we need precipitation. And when we're in this northerly setup, if I head to Friday here, when we're going to start to see that snow risk developing, and we'll see a direct northerly wind. So as the cold Arctic air travels over the somewhat warmer waters surrounding the UK, it's very unstable air, and that will allow showers to develop by means of convection, and that means that we see showers across more northern parts of the UK, where we're close to the first where that Arctic air first arrives. I'll just put the precipitation on here. This is the global data, so it's a bit blotchy. We'll look at the details of the snow in just a moment, but this gives us an idea of why we're seeing this snow developing. So we'll see showers coming in on this direct northerly. Now, it's not always going to be a direct northerly. Sometimes we'll see it be more of a northwesterly or a northeasterly, and that all depends on the shape of this low pressure out to the east over Scandinavia. And the devil is really in the detail as to whether we're going to see more snow coming in from the east or more snow coming in from the east or more snow coming in from the west. So slight changes in the shape of this low pressure just twists the wind direction, and that will really drive the focus for the snowfall. But with most of the wind direction coming from a direct northerly, it's northern Scotland that's going to be seeing the most significant snowfall. But it will be widely very cold, so we are expecting snow to lower levels. Now, that's not the only feature that will be driving the risk of any snow. So where we also see the the convection, that cold air moving over the warmer seas, as it's such cold air moving down from the Arctic, there'll be such a contrast in the temperature that it may develop what's known as an Arctic low, where we just see more organisation to those showers with such cold air moving over the comparatively warmer seas surrounding the UK. I know it doesn't feel very warm out there, but and that could drive some features to the eastern side of England, southeastern Scotland. So there could be a bit of a focus for some snow there as we head towards the weekend. Still a few details to be played out on that. And then the other feature, the third way we can see some snow, is you can see this occlusion marked on here, and what we could see is some small waves developing, and where this milder air, this Atlantic air, comes closer to the colder Arctic air, we'll start to see more of a feature, some organisation to some rain. And there's actually signs that we could see the first of those on Friday, moving through Northern Ireland and into Wales as well. So a few things there that are likely to bring us a risk of snow, and it's all being driven by this change of air mass to Arctic air. So where exactly are we going to be seeing some snow? Well, that's the risk of precipitation, but we also need the air to be cold enough for snow to fall. So here we have the freezing level, the height of 0 degrees above sea level. So that's the height at which you'd expect any precipitation, any rain to fall as snow. If it's just close to 0, it would be sleetier. So let's see how that changes through the rest of this week. So we don't reach that colder air until New Year's Eve on Wednesday. So you can see as we start New Year's Eve, the freezing level, it's around 1,000 metres to 600 metres, varying across the country. But as the New Year's celebrations kick off, we start to see that freezing level coming down from northern areas. So it's into Scotland where that Arctic air first arrives. You can see the wind direction shifting to more of a northerly, and the freezing level comes down to 200 metres at first. And then let's have a look as we go further ahead. We need to click on the next chart. So this is by the 1st of January, 9 a.m. on New Year's Day, and you can see it's quite a large portion actually of Scotland where we've got for the freezing level at around 200 metres, and it's as New Year's Day goes on that freezing level starts to continue to drop, bringing a greater risk of snowfall. Just watch how it changes. So we get the really cold air coming in through Thursday afternoon. If I put the fronts on, you can see that cold front swept down through Thursday afternoon, and behind it this Arctic plunge well and truly across the UK. And so what that means is that by Friday, any snow that falls will likely start to settle, and also it means that pretty much across the bulk of Scotland, any eastern areas of England, anything that is falling out of the sky will likely be snow. Looking further west, though, it's a bit more complicated. As I said, we're closer to that milder air, so the freezing level is a little bit higher. So when we see these features, these occlusions moving through, that means that there'll be a mix of sleet and snow, and it's mainly over higher ground where the snowfall will start to accumulate. Right, so let's look at how the snow is looking. So we've got here here we are, the snowfall. So I'm going to start on New Year's Day, 9 a.m. New Year's Day. There's that cold front. So here we've got just the precipitation. I know some people don't like it when we have the cloud and the rain on there as well. Hopefully this makes it easier for you to see just the snow falling. So showers, the first signs of snow over Scotland, and then as the day goes on New Year's Day, we start to see that freezing level come down. So the showers will increasingly turn to snow over Northern Ireland. You can see just a few. That's just going to be over the higher ground, but some of those showers starting to push into some eastern areas of Scotland, of southern Scotland and northeastern England as well. And then when we get the wind direction, if it does line up, so we get it coming through the Cheshire Gap, then we could start to see some snowfall over the high ground of Wales, and we'll start to see it accumulating here. And that's that feature, that occlusion feature. It's through Friday morning it's likely to move through, that pushes through Northern Ireland, then Wales. But all the while, we're continually seeing a pile up of showers over Scotland. So it's really Scotland that's going to be the focus for any major snowfall. But snow showers where are likely or are possible just about anywhere, to be honest, to see at least a snow flurry through Friday and into the weekend as well. Now, that's not the only thing going on. As I said, we do have a warning in force for snow and ice in Scotland, and that's not just because we're expecting these snow showers to pile in, but we are also expecting the winds to be very strong. Let's have a look at the winds. So from Thursday, near gale force winds are expected across a large swathe of northern Scotland in particular, and in particular Orkney and Shetland. And we will see that the strength of those near gale force winds combined with those snow showers bring a risk of snow drifting, which can make for some particularly dangerous driving conditions. So we are expecting the winds to be very strong all through Thursday, New Year's Day and into Friday. So I think that is not only going to create a greater risk with the snow, but also add on an extra cold feel with that Baltic wind coming in from the Arctic. So it's going to be a very cold few days. So how will the snow start to accumulate? So as I showed you a moment ago, we've got the freezing level coming down on Thursday into Friday. By Friday, the freezing level is pretty much at the surface across the UK. So this is the rolling snowfall total, so it's just continually going to be counting up any snowfall that falls. So this is by the end of Thursday, you can see it's predominantly northern Scotland, but there's also a few showers over parts of Northern Ireland as well as Wales, the Pennines, the Peak District, also seeing a few snow flurries as well. It'll mainly be the highest ground. And as we head towards the end of Friday, it's similar areas seeing that snowfall starting to build up. So by the time we get to the end of Friday, that's what the snowfall totals are expected to be. Now, this is showers, so it's not necessarily going to be absolutely spot on, as is the nature of forecasting showers, the popcorn nature of them. You don't know exactly the points that they're going to hit, but this gives us a really good idea of the areas that are expected to see snow. And if we do see more of an easterly and northeasterly, some eastern areas of northern England and southern Scotland could also see a few snow showers building up, potentially somewhere like the North York Moors, as we saw snow there in November, a similar situation to that. So as you can see here, it's Scotland where we're expecting the main focus for the snowfall to be through the rest of this week as we head into 2025. So snowfall is expected initially just at higher levels as we begin the Hogmanay celebrations. But as we move into Friday, by the 2nd of January, we are expecting up to around 30 centimetres to accumulate over the highest routes, and that paired with the near gale force winds brings the added risk of snow drifting, which, as I mentioned, is particularly difficult for driving. So we are expecting some disruption from the snowfall, and therefore we have issued a snow and ice warning for much of northern Scotland through Wednesday all the way through until Friday. So we are expecting disruption to travel. We could potentially see communities cut off from this snow, and power disruptions as well. It can bring icing to power lines as well as that snow drifting, which is a major issue as well. And these cold conditions are expected to last well into the start of the first week of January as well. So this is just the beginning of the cold spell. So not all of us will be seeing snow to start the new year, but I think all of us will be welcoming in 2026 with a cold feel as that Arctic air moves across the UK. But how cold is it going to get? Well, let's have a look at the maximum temperatures first of all, because not only is it going to be cold at night with some very sharp frost, by day it's going to be bitingly cold for some of us. It has been felt relatively cold recently with the lack of sunshine. There will be a bit more sunshine through the rest of this week, but temperatures will be heading well below average. So you can see as we begin 2026, by the end of this week, maximum temperatures are coming down close to just 2 or 3 degrees, well below average for this time of year. And actually some days over the weekend, it's Saturday and Sunday that's going to be particularly cold. We won't be reaching above 0 degrees. We'll have what's known as an ice day. We can take a look at that in more details using something very clever in just a minute. But before then, let's look at the minimum temperatures. So these are a summary of the minimum temperatures through the next 4 days. I'll just skip ahead to when the colder weather starts. So New Year's Day is going to be a cold start to New Year's Day, but you can see those temperatures trending down as the days go on. The weekend, as I mentioned, is going to be particularly cold. So the start of the day, and I think quite early frosts will develop as well. Sneak peek into the start of next week as well, even colder to start the day on Monday, and Tuesday still very cold as well. So it's not just daytime temperatures, it's nighttime temperatures as well. Very harsh frost that might not thaw through the day because we could see what's known as ice days. Let's see that in a bit more detail. So we're going to look at the ensemble data here. This is the ECMWF ensemble data. Ensemble data, if you don't know, is when the model is run multiple times. We change the initial conditions just slightly, and we run around 50 different times, and it's 51 in fact, and we then compare how the different outputs compare to give us a good idea for longer range forecasting of the spread of the different solutions. So we are going to look at the probability here of the temperature being greater than 0 degrees. Now I won't go through the night time because we are expecting it to be pretty cold at night. 0 degrees frosts are expected pretty much wherever you are all the way through next week, the end of this week and into the weekend. We can have a look at where we're expecting. So this is I'll just scroll through. It can be hard to find exactly where we want to be, but let's go to Friday lunchtime. Here we are. So by night, temperatures are expected to be very cold. Where we've got any lying snow, it could be -10 to -15 degrees in that sort of area. Towns and cities down to around -5 degrees, quite widely, particularly across northern areas. And in the day, maximum temperatures really struggling to get above 0. So this is the probability of the temperature being greater than 0. So where it's purple, that's a very slim chance, almost 0 chance of it being greater than 0. So it's likely to be colder than 0 degrees. So you can see here, this is the 2nd of January, that we've got very cold weather lasting through much of the day. By lunchtime, still going to be 0 degrees. It's mainly northern areas, not too close to the coast. We've still got slightly warmer seas, so coastal areas still staying relatively warm. And then on Saturday, you can try and find a similar time, Saturday lunchtime. That's Sunday lunchtime. We'll go with Sunday lunchtime. Similar, but even more widespread, actually even down to eastern areas of southern England, East Anglia, parts close to London. Actually, there's a greater chance. I mean, this isn't as dark as it is across Scotland and over the high. You can see it's the high ground that's highlighted in particular, but it just shows you the risk of how cold it's going to be by day. So I think you really will notice this cold feel by Thursday, and it is set to last into the start of next week. But how much longer will it last? Let's have a look at the ensemble graphs for the temperature. So this is another way we can look at the ensemble data, that probabilistic data. This is the spread in temperatures for a location. That came up quickly. If you've watched this before, these sometimes take ages to load, but it came up very quickly there, so I'm very happy. Here we have, it's all the different runs are individual lines. So you can't see that many different lines in the first portion of this graph because we've got high confidence of this cold weather initiating through the start of 2026. So you see quite dark lines where the lines have all come together, they all are in agreement. By Tuesday, it's around from Tuesday the 6th of January, that confidence starts to decrease, and you can see the different solutions that's spreading out, some staying colder and some going actually considerably warmer. The vast majority of solutions are still in this colder portion, however. We just moved locations there. So this is for near Manchester, this one. So it stays cold, but then we really get this big spread. However, this is for, you can see this is maximum and minimum temperatures going up and down because we see that diurnal variability, warmer in the day, colder in the night. So a lot of the solutions are still sticking with this quite cold field, maximum temperatures at best in the higher single figures. So it's still going to be sticking with around at least just average at best. For this is the second week of January, that goes up to about the end of the 8th of January. And it's a similar trend wherever you head across the UK and into Northern Ireland as well. Very similar trend. Now, what's the change that's going to happen? Well, we can have a look at the longer range forecast here. This is the decider output. This plot here shows you the different types of weather setup. They've all been, all that ensemble data has been grouped together in different weather types. So all the reds and oranges show higher pressure, the blues showing lower pressure. Now we can see we've got this high pressure dominating until the beginning of next week. You've got this anomaly of this. There we go, of this one coming in. That's just because we've got that low pressure out across Scandinavia, that low that develops, that drives that Arctic air through Thursday. It just comes up, it kind of disrupts the colour, but it's mainly higher pressure nearby driving that northerly Arctic wind and relatively dry, although we are going to see some showers. I mean, it's comparatively very dry at the moment, has been, and will continue to stay on the drier side. We're just seeing the risk of showers, really. No large fronts coming across the country. Now, by Tuesday, we start to see that risk of the blue colours coming in. So that's lower pressure moving in. Now, we've got, by the time we get into next weekend, the 10th of January, although we do have a risk of low pressure moving in, it's still pretty much a 50-50 chance between that lower and higher pressure. And it's really, I think, going to be the position of the low and high pressure that will be deciding our weather setup. So it is likely to turn more unsettled somewhat. However, we're going to be holding on to this more blocked pattern, and it's just how that high and low pressure slowly moves around that will drive and decide the setup, how cold it is, and where exactly the rain will fall. So let's add a bit more detail onto that. I know that was a little bit vague. So let's have a look at the most likely scenarios through the first or the second week of January. So this shows the most likely of those regimes. So Sunday this weekend, 90% chance. I did mention it's really high confidence for this cold weather through the weekend at least. For this northerly flow, low pressure across Denmark, that high pressure still is hiding behind there to the west of the UK. There's a slim chance of it being slightly different, but I think we're pretty confident on that with a 90% chance. I'll take that. By Monday, still 58% chance the percentages are coming down. We start to see potentially that high coming in a little bit closer to the UK, or perhaps sinking further south and west. You see the colours on here showing slightly milder air. That's because we would get more of a westerly wind, a warmer or milder direction moving in. But I think we're still expecting it to be cold. So it was Tuesday we saw the change initiating. So let's see what the most likely setups are by Thursday. So first of all, we've only got a 20% chance. That's the highest chance. Then another 20% or 19%, and then a 12%. So that high pressure is still nearby in the most likely scenario, driving more of a north westerly wind. The second most likely, more of a direct westerly, but still a 12% chance, and I'm sure many other members of a similar percentage still driving that northerly wind, still a very cold direction. So it does mean a couple of things, these different, the variety of different options. So one thing is how close high or low pressure is to us, and that will drive how wet it's going to be. And with if high pressure is closer to us, it's going to be drier, staying drier as it is. But I think we're likely to see low pressure at least in the vicinity of the UK, most likely driving some more Atlantic systems across the UK. But we've got some really cold air by the time we get into the second week of January across the UK. So we're going to be holding on to that cold air, and as any of those Atlantic systems bump into any of that colder air, there is the risk of potentially some more widespread snow, only for a time, but potentially more of us could see some snow. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as we head into the second week of January. While we're here, let's just look by next weekend what the most likely setups are. So this is Sunday the 11th. That's low pressure. You can see here's that low pressure. This is a potential 14% chance of a low pressure. So that's more likely to bring some rain, but still a fairly cold direction. We've got a northerly wind still coming in there, just around a northerly really. Northerly in this one, northwesterly, but more of a westerly for more southern areas in this 9% chance down here. So yeah, it's still a lot to play for next week. Confidence really does drop off. But a really good summary graphic for next week, I think, is the ECMWF anomaly chart. So this is for the week of the 5th of January onwards, or the 6th of January onwards, or 5th of January, Monday the 5th of January, yeah, for the temperature anomaly for the whole week. So this is a 7-day average, and it's quite clear it's going to be staying below average here, most likely. So I think that colder feel is definitely set to continue for the next week at least. So we've got cold weather coming in from Thursday onwards, that risk of snow. It will continue into the weekend. It remains cold into the start of next week as well. Then things become a little more complicated, but potentially even more interesting. As I said, if we do see any of that colder air meeting those Atlantic fronts, that's when there's the potential for more widespread snow. It's not something that we're taking too seriously at this moment because there's a lot of changes model run to model run. I'm not sure if you've been checking them out at home as well. If you are interested in snow, I'm sure you will be watching every run as they come out. But we will certainly be keeping an eye on it. Potentially a bit of an interesting week to come next week. That's all I've got time for. I hope you've enjoyed this week's deep dive. If you've got any questions, be sure to leave a comment and I will try to answer your comments. We can have a look at them in the live on Friday. That's at 12:15. If you've not caught it before, that will be with myself and Alex Birkhill. We'll be looking at the cold weather once again, I'm sure. So yes, leave a comment, like this video, don't forget to subscribe and share it as well. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great new year, Hogmanay, and I will see you in 2026. Bye-bye.